Hi everyone, my name is Luciano Faria and this is my YouTube channel. This is officially going to be my first video I'm uploading on this channel, and I just wanted to make a video about my year-end list. I know the year is about to end, so I wanted to get this video out before the year ends, and I just wanted to cover some albums that I really enjoyed this year. Albums that I thought stood out for me personally, albums that I spent a lot of time listening to, that I enjoyed. Just albums that I want to give recognition to as the year ends and that got released this year. So, without further ado, I'll be going over some honorable mentions and then the top 15 albums that I listened to this year. So, hope you enjoy. So, for the honorable mentions, I wrote them down on a piece of paper so don't forget them. It is Animal by Lump, Can You Hear Me by ELIO, 2.5 by Amine, To Hell With It by PinkPatheress, Sling by Clairo, Last Year Was Weird Volume 3 by Tkay Maidza, and Shut the Fuck Up Talking to Me by Zack Fox. So as I mentioned, these are all albums I really enjoy. I really like these albums a lot. Just weren't good enough to make my top list, unfortunately, just by a little bit, honestly. I think that you could check out these albums and I find that you enjoy them a lot, as I did. But yeah, so the way it's going to work, I'm going to go through my 15 through number 1, and I'll be posting my favorite songs for each album in the description box. So if you want to check that out at the end of the video, feel free to do that. So without further ado, number 15. So for number 15, I have Music by Benny Sings. This is just another project that, from Benny Sings, I think is very solid. I think that this is a very good project in the sense that it's not innovative in any sort of way, honestly, especially in his lane, but I think that he just does it really well. He makes really good, catchy pop songs that are very groovy or very fun, and that get stuck in your head. They're very earworm songs. So I think that if you're into more indie, piano-driven, guitar-driven songs, this is definitely something that you should check out. Like I said, not very innovative, nothing new for this artist, but I think that is a very statement and very solid piece of music that I enjoyed listening to this year. At number 14, I have Donda by Kanye West. This album is all over the place, but I cannot deny that it is a beautiful project. Something that I listen to quite frequently, honestly, since it's released. A lot of the key singles off this track are some of the best Kanye songs I've ever heard, and that's coming from a Kanye fan that's listened to all of his work. So I think that if you're interested in rap music, in gospel music, in music that makes you feel something, I think this album is definitely something you should check out. It has a lot of highlights, some lowlights. I think that it's not holistically a great project, but it's the highlights really outshine the dark spots on this album. So if you're interested in any of that, make sure to check out Donda. At number 13, I have A Tiny House and Secret Speeches, Polar Equals by Sweet Trip. This album is amazing. I love Sweet Trip. I think they're basically my favorite band of all time at this point, and I can say that this album is definitely worth a while, waiting from You'll Never Know Why and coming to this album. I think that it's a perfect marriage of the ideas they had on Velocity Design Comfort and You'll Never Know Why, and kind of fusing them together to make these very huge and hazy instrumental, ballads, basically. I think that Roberto and Valerie do a very good job, and I'm really excited to see if they have anything in store in the future, because this got me really excited. I think that this album is definitely worthwhile if you're interested in any shoegaze music, IDM, electronic, or even pop music, honestly. I think this album has a lot of highlights for a lot of different people that are into a lot of different music. So if you're interested at all, I make sure to check out this album by Sweet Trip. At number 12, I have Untourable Album by Men I Trust, a very solid and atmospheric indie pop release that I really like this year. Something that really transports you to the place that they want to take you, which is a place of exploring loneliness, love lost, and it sounds very nostalgic. It reminds me of my childhood, and I think that's what they were going for with this album. It's very retrospective in that sense, where you're reflecting on these past aspects of your life and just creates a project that does a great job of really get that idea across. So if you're into indie pop, you're into more downbeat, lo-fi, very melancholy music, I think this is the perfect album for you, and a very solid release that I really enjoyed this year. At number 11, I have Roadrunner, New Light, New Machine by Brockhampton. Brockhampton just keep producing some of the best rap albums of every year they release an album. 2 years ago was Ginger, the year before that was Iridescence, and Roadrunner is no exception. I think they do a great job of producing really hard-hitting rap songs with great production as usual, but also more sad and introspective tracks like the ones that feature Joba's reflections on his dad's passing on The Light in The Light Part 2. I think it's a very powerful album, one that I come back to a lot for very key and highlight tracks, and there's a lot of them on this album. And I definitely think you should give this a listen if you're into pop music, rap music, or just if you want to have something new and just listen to some really great and very lively production from Brockhampton. At number 10, I have Frailty by dltzk. dltzk is a very new artist to me. I have not heard of them before this year, but they produce one of the most groundbreaking and insane projects that I've heard, putting together a lot of elements of genres that I've liked in the past, such as pop rock, glitch, electronic, IDM, metal to some extent, rap music, even chiptune music, like video game music. It's all coalesces and create this insanely grand and big project with these huge climaxes in these songs that honestly are larger than life. I think that dltzk creates a project that feels very nostalgic for me, and I really like how the album flows, the sequences, the chiptune little bits that keep coming back with every song, and from beginning to end. I think it's a really cool project, and if you're interested in any of those genres, you should definitely check it out because it is a huge standout for me, and I will be looking forward to listening to more dltzk music in the future. At number 9, I have Juno by Remi Wolf. Remi Wolf just creates an album that is just so purely her. There's not really another descriptor I can use for this album besides Remi Wolf. This album is just so unique, so fun, so groovy, so funky, so catchy. Every single song on the album is just so catchy and so uniquely her. There's not really another way to say it. This album is very single heavy. A lot of the songs in this album were released as singles prior to the album's release. But surprisingly, this album actually works really well together. From start to finish, I think this album has a really great flow, has a really great sequencing, and there's not really any weak points in this album. Every single section of this album's runtime is filled with bangers, filled with very catchy pop songs, and that's exactly why it plays so high on my year-end list. At number 8, I have An Evening with Silk Sonic by Silk Sonic. I knew this album was going to be on my list in some capacity just because of how good the singles were coming into this project that were released the entire year. Leave the Door Open, Skate, Smoking Out the Window. These songs are some of the best songs that I've heard this year, hands down. And coming to this album, only 9 songs long, a very short album, it just goes to show how well Bruno and Anderson worked well together, making this album that is very much very Bruno, very Anderson, and creating this new style that's some of the best R&B music that I've ever heard in my entire life. It'll be a project that I'll be listening to for a very long time in the future, as I know it's going to stand the test of time. At number 7, I have Call Me If You Get Lost by Tyler, the Creator. I think in this point in Tyler's career, it's really obvious to everybody that he is one of the best artists around, just the full package. And I think that Call Me If You Get Lost is just another demonstration, another showcase of how well Tyler, the Creator, is doing his work. I think that he is on top form with his rapping game. Honestly, the best rapping that I've ever heard from him. And the features are amazing. The production's amazing. He does a great job of constructing this album with a narrative of love lost and conflict between liking someone else's girl. And that's evident through a lot of songs. But also personal struggles, things that have happened throughout the couple years that is between now and Igor. And also just using this album as a flex album, just showing how much he's grown and how far he's come since the days of his earlier work to now, where he's respected as one of the best artists in the industry. At number 6, I have Floating Points, Pharoah Sanders, and the London Symphony Orchestra with Promises. If I were to describe this album in one word, I'd say just magical. I think that this album is just engrossing. It takes all of your attention with these small bits that they present in the very beginning of the project, with these few notes that it just envelops into this grand and whimsical journey that really is magical. I think that Pharoah Sanders' Floating Points and the symphony do a great job of taking a little and making it a lot, and is one of the best symphony and orchestral jazz pieces that I've heard. And I need to listen to more, as it's one of my introductions to the genre, but I'm really glad that I checked it out. An amazing album, not too long, has several different movements, and it takes these ideas and transports them, but it does a great job of pacing and having different sections that are just similar in idea, but execution-wise are very different and perform in a way that makes it very interesting and engaging throughout the entire project. As we enter the top 5, I have Magdalena Bay with Mercurial World. I think this album for me is the prime example of how important and how pivotal sequencing and flow can be to an album's success, and I think that Mercurial World is the perfect example of that. The sequencing and flow of this album are literally perfect. I would not change a single thing, and the way that some songs tie into others, either directly or indirectly, is amazing. I love it so much, and literally between the end and the beginning. I don't want to spoil the album, but it has a cool thing that they do at the end of the album. And yeah, the themes of video games tie directly into the lyrics and songwriting and the production. It's a really fun album. It's a lot of cool little sound bites and samples they use, and they do it in a great way. The singing is very catchy, very melodic, and Magdalena Bay is just a group that I'll be looking forward to a lot as we enter 2022, and hoping that they release more projects in the near future, as I love this project a lot. At number 4, I have Injury Reserve with By the Time I Get to Phoenix. This was the most insane and unique listening experience that I had this year. It genuinely felt like I was being abducted by aliens at times, with how futuristic it was, how it just sounded like I was hyperventilating on a lot of drugs, having a panic attack. It was really crazy, and I love it for that. It's one of the most unique albums that I've heard in a very long time, with how it sounds and how the production is. This album also deals with a lot of themes of depression, anxiety, loss, grieving, as it's in the wake of the passing of their member, Gruggs, that passed earlier last year. So it's a very sad and very dark album in that sense, but also very beautiful in a way, as it deals with the band's coming to terms with it, how they still see Gruggs in their everyday lives, and how they're going to keep moving forward. I think that it's a very beautiful project, and one that definitely pushes the envelope of rap music, and I'm really glad that I listened to it this year. At number 3, I have Sometimes I Might Be Introvert by Little Simz. I had not listened to any Little Simz music prior to this year, so getting to see this album get rolled out and released was a truly special experience for me, because this album has instantly become one of my favorite albums of all time. It is that amazing. This album deals with a lot of themes of anxiety, self-worth, self-image, how Little Simz is viewed as a woman, a black woman in society, and it's just a look into her mind and how she thinks, and it's really introspective and really amazing in that way. Some of the best production I've ever heard of any rap project. It's really grand and orchestral. Rap music has never sounded this beautiful to me before, and it's just a celebration of how great Little Simz is as an artist. If you had not heard of her, you just need to give her respect, because she is hands down one of the best rappers and artists in the entire world right now. And this album is just a testament to that. At number 2, I have LP by JPEGMAFIA. So coming into this year, when I heard that JPEGMAFIA would release an album, I was super excited because I loved Cornballs, but I knew that he could do better. And this album just has blown me out of the water. I think that it is amazing. By far and away his best project to date. And just everything that he's been working on the past couple of years, the EPs that he's dropped, Cornballs, all the pop rap influences, and the more melodic tracks that he's been focusing on, all culminate to make this amazing project of just banger after banger. This album does not miss a single beat. There's no bad tracks in this album, not a single one. From start to finish, this album is amazing, and I cannot say enough good things about it. JPEGMAFIA's singing and melodies, choices of samples, all the best I've ever seen from him, and that's saying a lot, considering that he's released some of the best projects in the last couple of years for me personally. So number 2, JPEGMAFIA LP, by far and away the best rap album of this entire year. And at number 1, I have to give it to Spelling with The Turning Wheel. No album that got released in 2021 made me feel more enchanted and enamored than The Turning Wheel. It is truly a one-of-a-kind listening experience, and I could not recommend it more, as it is one of the most beautiful and truly magical projects that I've heard in my entire life. It is an amazing project. Everything from the songwriting to the lyrics to the production to the instrumentation to how she sounds. Her singing voice is amazing. I've never heard anything like it. She has one of the most unique singing voices, and she just does it in a way that just it amplifies all the themes that she's trying to go through, of love, of nature, of magic, the mysterious nature of how these songs sound in unison. Everything is top notch. It has one of the best 4-track runs that I've ever seen from any album, starting with Little Deer to The Future. I think that chunk of songs is some of the best points of music that I've ever heard in my entire life, and I cannot give it more compliments. 2021 would not be as great of a year as music as it was without the inclusion of The Turning Wheel, and I'm very happy to put it at my #1 spot with this year-end list. And that concludes my list. Thank you so much for watching. If you stick to the very end, I really appreciate it. This, like I said, was my first YouTube video that I'm ever publishing on this channel, so thank you for sticking around. Sorry if it was really rough. I'm not really used to recording stuff like this, but I do have more plans for this channel. I do hope to create more content talking about music, whether that be music reviews, video essays, stuff like that, reactions, hopefully more content leaning around that kind of lens. But thank you again. I really appreciate it. Thank you for sticking around. Leave a comment to let me know what was your favorite album of this year. And yeah, I'll see you later. Thank you so much for watching.